Call on Ruth Maguire to open the debate. Ms Maguire, please.
Presiding Officer, can I begin by thanking members from across the Chamber who signed my motion and enabled this debate to go ahead. I'm also grateful to all the organisations who provided briefing materials, sharing their views on this topic of a right to a healthy environment. In particular, if I could acknowledge the Environmental Rights Centre for Scotland, ScotLink and Movement for Health. The pandemic and measures put in place to keep everyone safe has shone a light on existing inequalities and fragilities in some of our systems. Our citizens already in vulnerable situations, often those with the least resources, have undoubtedly been most at risk of harm. But even prior to the pandemic, in Scotland, people living in our communities with the greatest economic challenges have disproportionately suffered from the impacts of polluting factories and proximity to contaminated derelict land and landfill. Those least responsible for causing environmental damage, children, along with the elderly and those suffering ill health, are in turn most negatively impacted by environmental health hazards. In this way, an unhealthy environment exacerbates existing health inequalities. What's more, the COVID-19 pandemic has demonstrated the inextricable links between human and ecosystems' health. Now, more than ever, our need for a healthy environment must be protected in law as a human right. And after a momentous day for human rights yesterday, with UNCRC incorporation being unanimously approved by our Scottish Parliament, it's a pleasure to highlight that if re-elected, an SNP Scottish Government will bring forward a new Scottish Human Rights Act, which will include a right to a healthy environment for everyone. This proposed framework will demonstrate global human rights leadership, placing Scotland at the forefront of human rights legislation and, most importantly, practice. From global biodiversity loss to the importance of local access to good quality green space, the unequal impacts of the pandemic have brought important aspects of environmental issues to our attention. I'd like to concentrate my remarks today on the importance of local access to quality green space and the relationship between the environment and our health. In doing so, I'd like to talk specifically about walking and wheeling. I want to acknowledge and reference the blog of Ian Finlay, the Chief Officer of Paths for All, which I read this morning. Ian sadly passed away on the 5th of March. I know he was very highly regarded, and note that Paths for All intend to honour his legacy by working to make Scotland a happier and healthier place, something I think we can all get behind. As Ian said in his blog, human health has three dimensions: our physical, mental and social health. And we know that being physically active has a huge positive impact on all three, particularly when we manage to get outdoors. And we know that being physically active has an immediate and positive impact on our resilience by enhancing our immune system. People who exercise regularly have a lower risk of developing many long-term conditions such as heart disease, type 2 diabetes, stroke and some cancers. Research shows that physical activity outdoors can also boost self-esteem, mood, sleep quality and energy, as well as reducing symptoms of stress, depression, dementia. As much as 40% of long-term conditions can be caused by inactivity. Physical activity improves physical function and cognition, may improve quality of life in adults with schizophrenia, and may improve physical function in adults with intellectual disability, and improves quality of life in adults with major clinical depression. Access to the natural environment has a very important role to play in health. With accessible parks, paths and green space, walking, wheeling, and importantly for our children and young people, outdoor play is available to all at low or no cost to citizens, but delivering huge benefits to society as a whole. Investment in protecting and sustaining our natural environment and ensuring it's accessible to all can save our healthcare system money and, more importantly, can save lives. So making sure that everyone can access their local parks, paths and countryside is critical, both from a healthcare and equity basis. The right to a healthy environment is a big and important topic, and it's only been possible for me to touch on one aspect in the time that I have. And of course, the right to a healthy environment is just one part of the Scottish Government's bold and ambitious plans for a Human Rights Act. It is clear that taking a human rights-based approach to policies and decisions, embedding and progressing a human rights culture where these rights are placed at the heart of our society, will improve the lives of the people of Scotland. It can't be done by government alone, and I know that these ambitious plans will require all of us. Rights holders, local authorities, health boards, the courts, the judiciary, scrutiny bodies, the third sector and our Scottish Parliament to come together. I hope that this can happen as soon as possible following the election. I thank colleagues again for their support for this debate and look forward to hearing their contributions. Presiding Officer.
Thank you very much, Ms Maguire.